Time for another episode of Pottawattamie County Roots, presented by Hoy Kalnoski Funeral Home. I am Todd Studer, and back into the studio, but the first time in this particular studio is Kate Gerber. She is the Director of Public Relations for Pottawattamie County. What do you think? First time in here. I've been using this for a little while.
I like it. It looks good.
I think that helps a little bit. It's good to switch things up every once in a while.
You're always keeping it fresh.
I'm doing my very best. What's the latest at the county? What are some of the things you've been working on?
We're, keeping it fresh, keeping it busy too. We've got a lot coming up in August and, well, the tail end of August, I suppose, at this point, and September, and then just a busy fall. So kind of some of the key things that I wanted to make sure that you and I got to chat about. Fresh deadline or, opening date for absentee ballot registration forms. Those can be submitted at our auditor's office. Obviously, extremely important. We want everyone to get out there and vote. Make sure you exercise your civic duty. So that runs from August 25th through October 19th. Make sure you put those requests in if that is the way that you want to vote. Obviously, everyone is welcome to vote on Election Day in November.
I just prefer it that way because for me, it's like it's an event. And again, for some people, it's necessary that scheduling or whatever they're going to.
You're out of town.
Yeah,
yep,
a lot
exactly.
of things. But for me to be able to actually go and sit and meet whoever's working the.
We have such wonderful, dedicated poll workers. And obviously voting at the courthouse happens up to Election Day. And then if you're voting on Election Day, you have to check your polling location and make sure that you're going to the right place, bringing the right identification, all of that. We have new voting machines that just arrived at the courthouse last week. So this is replacing technology that was 13 years old. It's only supposed to last about 10 years. So they had managed to make it just a little bit extra. But this is just continuing to make sure that we have safe and secure elections.
Is it still filling in the circles, or
it's still going to be on the same machines? Your voting process is going to look the exact same. You wouldn't even necessarily know that they're new machines. So much of it is just on the back end and in the technology and the way it runs. But your process should feel very seamless to how you most recently voted, presumably in the primary in June.
Yep, that was the last time that folks were out. So, and also double check, make sure that your polling place is still the same. All of that, probably a good idea to always check on that. Anyway.
Absolutely.
And at the same time, learn a little bit about who's running before you get there. I'm guilty of this, that I will get to the polls to vote, and then, I didn't even know this was going to be.
There's more on there than you realized.
And now I have to make a decision based strictly off of, whose name is prettier.
You're there and you got to go. I mean, we're hoping that you're able to figure it out in the moment, but that's another good plug for our auditor's office. They have so much information on their website. They will have sample ballots on there so that you can see exactly what is going to be on the ballot when you get there. That's incredibly helpful for people. I also think that is one of the reasons why some people prefer absentee voting is they can either do it in the comfort of their own home and they can take the time to research everything and, make it an event in their own way. Maybe it's at dinner or with their spouse or just hanging out at home by themselves, making sure that they're doing the research and the homework on who they plan to vote for. But certainly we just want to make sure that as many people as possible get out there and vote anytime that they choose, exercising either via absentee by mail, absentee in person, or on Election Day on November 3rd.
I have talked about many times recently, just because she just passed away, but my grandmother who made it to 100 years. And she was 91 when she moved into the independent living facility. Part of what she would do is, because she was very big into voting and being involved in politics, she would go around to the other rooms, making sure that everyone was registered.
I love that.
They need help getting an absentee ballot or anything to know where to go to be able to do that. She just took it upon herself to go out and do that. So this was just who my grandmother was.
I mean, that's beautiful. And just what a striking, testament to who she was and what she believed in and how important that was. And it's a great reminder too, to check on maybe some of the elderly individuals in your life who aren't quite as motivated and independent as your grandma was. But making sure that they do have a plan and that it's not just about you. Maybe check on your neighbors, make sure that they've figured out what their voting plan is as well.
Yeah, it's that type of civic mindedness, I think, was a lot more prevalent as my grandmother was going through her 40s and 50s and 60s and all of that. Because even, at the age of 60, that was 40 years ago. So, I mean, she lived through an awful lot. But
Yeah.
it used to be such a much bigger thing
Mm-hmm.
than I think what we have now. And I'd like to see it come back. I'd like to see getting high voter turnouts
I know.
on those off years. Now, when a president comes up for election every 4 years, there's usually pretty good turnout for that. But on the other times when votes are happening, it's just
Mm-hmm.
not.
Well, and I think one of the things that people forget is how much impact on their lives local politics actually have.
Much more, yes.
Obviously, when you're talking about things at the city level, at the county level, those are the people who are making decisions that impact your backyard
Yes.
and your roads and so many things that have a much more immediate and potentially larger impact on you than things that are happening at the federal level. And so that's where it's very disheartening for me when I see some of the voter turnout percentage numbers, and on those off years, like you said, it can be really low. And so are trying to do more voter education. We've got a whole article series that we're posting on the county website basically from now until election day, just continuing to share more bits of information, because we know even if we tell you once, we probably have to tell you 10 times to make sure that we're getting through to as many people as we possibly can, finding them on the right day where they happen to see the article posted on, every social media platform under the sun that we're on, and just trying to get as much information out there as we can.
Well, and here's something else that you can do at the local level, because this just happened last Thursday. I'm helping some local politicians with a podcast. I'm not on it. I'm just helping produce it for them. So it's completely their content and everything that is that they want to put on there. Well, as we were shooting a couple of episodes, and as we were shooting the first one, a lady came up to me. And she could see that these were candidates, and she had something that her young daughter had taken to different organizations because it was a change that she wanted to see in the schools. So this mother was out finding politicians to talk to that were running for local offices and knowing that this is where this is at. Whoever's sitting in that Oval Office in Washington, D.C. has nothing to do with the heights of the sinks in the elementary schools.
Absolutely.
But she was out and that's what you can do at the local level, is you can actually sit down and have an extended conversation with someone and learn a lot about them. And they will be more than willing to have those.
Absolutely. They want to have those. I know for, our current elected officials and for several of the county positions, they're running unopposed. And so they obviously aren't necessarily in campaign mode the way they would be if things look differently, but they still want to have conversations. These are still your local elected officials, whether that's your county attorney, your county recorder. These are the people who are in these offices. They have departments working for them, doing things that have an impact on your local services and things that you receive from the county. And if you have questions, and maybe not about the sinks in the schools, obviously direct that to your school boards and everybody else. But for the things that could actually have an impact on county services, I think reminding people that these are approachable human beings who want to have these conversations, and they want to know, because I think we all kind of fall into the trap. We don't know what we don't know. And if you are, you're an elected official, you're doing your job, you're showing up to work, and you're going to your various events. But if there's something happening over here that just doesn't happen to fall in your purview or one of your committees or boards that you serve on, and nobody ever tells you about it, it's really hard for them to always have every single thing on their radar. So I think reminding people to engage in the process outside of just voting, showing up to the Board of Supervisors meetings on Tuesdays at 10 a.m., maybe not the most work-friendly time, but we do also live stream those via Teams. And then we have the recordings out on YouTube, and those are posted within 24 hours. So if there's ever an agenda, if you see the agenda posted the day before, where people are like, oh, that's a topic that I'm actually very interested in because it impacts something close to my neighborhood or something close to a department that I'm very invested in. People have more ways of, I think, engaging with this than they realize. And so just trying to make sure that people remember that it should be a little bit of ownership too. It's not just a one-way street of we push all of this out, we provide the services, and then, oh, by the way, yes, you also pay taxes, but you can engage in it too.
What if your healthcare provider came to you? Me to You is an Iowa-based in-home primary care practice, bringing personalized medical care directly to your home. Especially helpful for people who have difficulty getting out, Me to You serves patients of all ages, from children through end-of-life care, from wellness visits and chronic disease management to preventative care and advanced care planning. That means less time traveling, less time in waiting rooms, and more time where it matters most. Learn more at me2you.care or call 641-843-8405. Finding the right care for a loved one can feel overwhelming. Assisted Living Locators is here to help. Jean Bonker brings more than 30 years of experience serving families and has personally navigated the challenges of elder care. She understands the questions, the emotions, and the weight of these decisions. Jean becomes your advocate, guiding you through options with clarity, compassion, and personal support every step of the way. Call Assisted Living Locators at 402-690-5467 and move forward with confidence.
There is events coming up where people can actually go, sit, learn from multiple county officials all at the same time.
Yeah.
And there's several opportunities in the near future, right?
Absolutely. So one of my favorite events that has just evolved so beautifully over this year would be our county traveling office hours. This is something that started with the recorder's office. So I know we've talked about it before. You've talked to Andrew Moats, our county recorder. And he really had to take it upon himself, and his department did, because some changes had happened where they were no longer able to do their 1 day a month during normal business hours out in Avoca, because whether it was something at the state code or something shifted where that was no longer viewed as offering your services in a new way because it was still during the same hours. So now they took it where it's outside of business hours. So from 4 to 7:30 once a month, they move around to a different town in the county every month. So that way they're trying to make it as accessible as possible versus just always being in Avoca. So coming up in September, they'll be in Trainer. And it's not just them anymore. They've brought along some friends. So they're bringing emergency management with them, community services, our veteran service office, which they do such a phenomenal job of trying to be as accessible as possible to our veterans in the county, but they come to these events now as well. And then obviously we were talking about voting. Our auditor's office will have representatives in September as well to make sure that people can check their registration, get registered if they need to register to vote, check their polling place. And all of that information is on the website as well as far as polling place verification. But yeah, just making sure that we're offering as many services as possible. We know 8 to 4:30, that can be really hard if you need to do a passport application or if you need to register to vote and you have questions that you want to talk to a person in person about. You might be working during those hours, and it might be hard to sneak off to the courthouse, especially if you live in a different part of the county. So that's why they've continued to do these, and they will continue to do them. And like I said, just continuing to rotate around to the different towns to make sure that we're hitting as many places as we can. They were just in Carter Lake this month, and then Trainer next month.
Well, and I think too that a lot of these officials, being headquartered in Council Bluffs, it's just going to be human nature that they're going to be more familiar with what's happening closer to home. So having a chance to talk with people who live in another community, this is how you can get your concern directly addressed and talked about. And it's not just making a comment online on a social media post somewhere. This probably can have, you're probably going to get a lot more satisfaction out of sitting down and talking to someone.
100%. And we've seen even just in some comments or things that have been mentioned during public comments at supervisor meetings, which one of the things that we've tried to do, and so far I think it's working, is that public comment used to be at the end of the meeting. That would potentially create quite a burden for people because those meetings can be 30 minutes. They can be 2.5 hours. They can be longer than that. But to have someone who they have one thing that they care about so much that they felt compelled to miss work or rearrange their day, and they're showing up and they want to be able to speak to this one issue, and then to ask them to sit there quietly for 2.5 hours while the rest of the meeting happens, and then they get their 3 minutes. Thankfully, there were some people who just asked the question, can we change this? Does this have to be at the end? So we moved public comments to the beginning. I think people really appreciate that. They're able to say their piece, they get their 3 minutes, and then they can go about their day. And it's literally the first item on the agenda every single week now. So I think that's been a really positive shift for members of the public who want to be heard. But when we've had some comments raised in the past, we've been able to actually take very quick action, depending on what it might be that they're asking about. We've had people who have raised concerns about radon awareness, because that's, something that not everybody really knows much about, or it's like, oh yeah, I think I'm supposed to test for radon levels, but I don't really know how, or, just these different things where we actually were able to do a full awareness campaign. And then we issued some proclamations to just try and drive and increase education about that, remind people that there are either free radon test kits available online or very affordable kits available through the county, and just something that wouldn't have happened if this person hadn't been compelled to take time out of their day, issue a public comment at a supervisors meeting, and then it sparked many conversations afterwards. So I think it's really great to see things like that, because that's really what I feel like is government in action, and like that civic duty in action where people engage in the process and then they get to see the results too.
Primrose Retirement Community in Council Bluffs believes home should be a place of comfort, connection, and care. From personalized support to engaging daily activities, everything they do is designed to help residents live fully and confidently. At Primrose, that's their priority, to put the quality of their residents' care and daily needs at the top of their list each day and every day. It's not just about where you live, it's about how you live. Learn more about life at Primrose by going to primroseretirement.com, and then contact Jamie Bush at Primrose and discover a place that truly puts people first. Primrose Retirement Community in Council Bluffs believes home should be a place of comfort, connection, and care. From personalized support to engaging daily activities, everything they do is designed to help residents live fully and confidently. At Primrose, that's their priority, to put the quality of their residents' care and daily needs at the top of their list each day and every day. It's not just about where you live, it's about how you live. Learn more about life at Primrose by going to primroseretirement.com, and then contact Jamie Bush at Primrose and discover a place that truly puts people first.
You also have another event coming up, State of the County.
Yes.
Correct?
Mm-hmm. So State of the County, it's hosted by the Council Bluffs Chamber, and they do a State of the County and a State of the City. And so our event is on Monday, September 14th, and that will be at the Hoff. Believe it is from 11:30 to 1 or 11:30 to 1, I believe. Okay. But that information's all online. And that one, we're just trying to really make sure that we bring information that's going to be new and informative to people. We're also going to make sure that we provide time at the end for questions. So obviously, if people are taking, again, time out of their day, we want to make sure that they have that opportunity to ask the individuals who will be present any questions that they might have. Our supervisors, I believe most of them will be able to be there presenting on different topics, whether it's challenges that the county is currently facing, what we think our biggest opportunities for growth are in the near future, some of the large projects, and just general themes that we're seeing across our departments. One of the things that we're trying not to do is have it feel exactly like some of our other events. So we don't want to replicate a town hall where we have all of our department heads up there, because a lot of that information ultimately you can find on the website. If you want to know what GIS does, or what's the difference between the auditor's office and the recorder's office, there's ways to find that information. Certainly, it's always valuable to hear it from the individuals themselves, but we just want to make sure we're bringing as much new and strategic and kind of bigger picture information for everybody for that particular event.
So that's coming up on the 14th of
Correct.
September. That's a Monday.
Yes.
And getting started at 11:30, and it's at the Hoff. Probably not in the auditorium. Would it be over on the?
Yeah, I believe it when you go into the left,
Right.
Because it'll be over lunch. Lunch will be served. So it is a ticketed event because it's through the chamber.
Right.
Obviously, I know there's some questions sometimes around, well, if it's county government, why do I have to buy a ticket for it? And well, it's because it's specifically a chamber event where we're sharing that information. Obviously, we try to share this same type of information through many other accessible and free platforms, whether that's things on the county website, through the supervisor meetings, and all of those kinds of things
lunch
as well.
All too.
Yeah,
So.
and there's food. So yes, you're getting fed.
So that's going
Certainly.
to be part of it. So
Yeah.
I'd encourage you to get out there and take part in that. And I know that the chamber's been doing a lot of meetings around town recently. So it's good to have somebody kind of spearheading that.
Yeah, and they're hosting so many other things coming up, candidate forums and everything else. So all just going back to that voter education piece of taking the time to hear from the people who are running for these various offices and make sure that you are confident and educated before you go and fill out that ballot.
Well, we done what we can do here as far as getting the candidates on and just letting them talk.
Yeah.
Which is my goal. I had somebody a while back after watching one of those interviews said, I can't tell who you vote for based off that interview. And I said, thank you. Because to me, that's
the highest compliment. Absolutely.
Exactly. Because that's not my job. My job here is not to influence any election at all. I've told everybody that comes on, I'll never endorse anyone.
No.
Because to me, that would be irresponsible. This is a platform for folks to be able to learn about that. So, and we've had a lot of them on. We haven't had everybody on yet, working on it. It's up to them whether they want to take advantage of this platform or not. But I know that I'm very grateful that you do.
Absolutely. Well, and I think, there's so many other platforms where you can have it on for 5 seconds and you know who they vote for. And so I think it's such a nice, unique thing that you offer. And similarly for me as public relations for the county, I'm not public relations for any one individual. I'm not, out here trying to help run a campaign for anyone. That is absolutely not my role. That's not what I'm here to do. And it would be deeply unethical. So, I'm focused on the only influence I want to have is increased voter turnout, seeing people engaged, seeing people informed, fewer questions, or anybody at the end who says, well, I admit I was at the wrong polling place and I didn't get to vote. Like, that's my nightmare. I don't want to see that happen. So yes, as far as influencing any kind of thing like that, it's just really trying to make sure that people know where to get the information they need and that they're ready to do what they need to do to vote.
Well, Kate, thank you so much for everything that is you're doing.
Yeah.
And also for keeping us informed. Welcome here anytime. And we can help pass along information and hopefully get more folks attending some of these events.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate it as always. Such a great chat every time. And I love the new space.
Thank you so much. She is Kate Gerber, and she is a Public Relations Director for Pottawattamie County. That wraps things up today. If you click like, share, follow, maybe subscribe, all of those things help the algorithm push this information out even further. And folks who may not have seen it otherwise are going to learn what's going on in the county. It's a free thing that you can do to be able to help us get the information out to more folks. So thank you in advance for doing that. My name is Todd Studer, and we'll see you next time.